That day is an absolute must-see for everyone.
That day is thought-provoking.
Powerful.
That day is an eye-opener.
That day is essential.
That day is a story about the tension between devotion to Christ and distraction by lesser things. 10 years ago, my life was complicated, and a mentor pitched an idea to me. He said he wanted me to do a presentation about eternal rewards, a story that would have one main character and about a dozen other characters, and he wanted me to play all of them. Okay, so my life already looked like a daily battle between devotion and distraction after distraction. But on top of that, we had a tween-age daughter, a toddler, and my wife was about to give birth to twins. Sure, I've got plenty of time to take on a new project, right? Clearly this is another distraction. But after my wife and I looked the story over, prayed about it, sought wise counsel, and months of hard work, that day was born. That Day is a 75-minute off-Broadway quality one-man show about the tension between devotion to Christ and distraction by lesser things. Devotion, the relentless pursuit of rewards that really matter, and the regret that tends to pile up when we fall prey to distraction. And performing that day has changed my life. Everywhere I've performed the story, people tell me the same kinds of things. Aaron, I've heard a lot of sermons, read a few books, seen some life-changing movies, but this is different. When I see the truth played out in front of me in a live theatrical performance like that day, it's undeniable. I'm far more distracted than devoted. We just get to the point, please. I hate wasting time. No! Not here! Not now! I'm Dan, and I promise I'm not crazy. I'll tell you my side of his story. That day that everything changed. The Lord bless you and keep you, Mr. Matthews. Keep your eye on the prize, Danny. This is that day you've been living for. Get me out of here. I commanded you to store up treasures here, and at last the day has come for me to award them to you each. I will give the crown of righteousness, crown of life, crown of faith. I will give some of you a verbal commendation. Well done, good and faithful servant. So there you have it. You've heard some pastors and ministry executives talk about how that day is great, it's essential, it's powerful. You've even seen a few video clips from a recent live performance of that day. You know how Paul writes about that day. He talks to some believers in Christ, people who are saved by grace alone, through faith alone, in Christ alone, and they're way off track. And he says, guys, I want to warn you, there's a day coming that you're going to come before Christ and account for what you've done and receive rewards for what you did while you were here in the body. And don't you, like Paul, like me, don't you want to hear them receive the greatest rewards possible and hear things like, well done, good and faithful servant? And later, Paul even writes to the same church and says, guys, I'm afraid that just as Eve was deceived by the serpent's cunning, that you may be led astray from sincere and pure devotion to Christ. So let me ask you a couple of questions and wrap this up. Who comes to mind when you hear those scriptures? Is there anyone in your life who doesn't struggle with distraction on some level? Is there anyone, lost, saved, skeptic, or seeker, who wouldn't benefit from a clearer, artful picture of what intentional daily devotion to Christ might really look like? Then that day is for them and for you. Simply stated, you're going to fit into one of three categories right at this moment. Either A, this is for me, I'm in. B, I got some questions. Or C, this isn't for me. And you know what? If you're in category C, no problem. I'm not here to twist your arm. I want you to know that I've noticed that you've taken a few minutes to find out about that day, and that's a big deal to me, probably a big deal to you. So I have two things to tell you. Thanks so much for your time, and get back to work and quit watching videos, will you? Category B, you're going to say, I got some questions, and you know what? We've got answers. In fact, we've heard so many questions, we made a couple of quick, frequently asked questions videos. The first video just kind of answers, hey, is this going to interfere with our church or ministry's theology? If you believe in salvation by grace alone, through faith alone, in Christ alone, the short answer is no. But we made a quick video with some pastors and folks that'll help you answer that question on your own terms. The second video that we made is also very short, where we've taken some pastors and ministry executives who've either seen that day a time or two, brought their people to see that day, or brought that day to their people, to their church, their ministry, their event, their organization. And we asked them three very simple questions. What is that day best at? Who is that day best for? And how can someone like you use this story to help your people escape the gravitational pull of distraction and live their lives with greater devotion, with eternity in mind? If you're in category B, you need to watch those videos as quick as you can and get yourself into category A, which says, look, I'm in. You had me at distraction and devotion. Help. What do I do? Well, I want to urge you, don't let the sun go down today without starting a conversation about that day. The way to do that is go to thatday.info and click on the red button that says Discover That Day. It'll let you enter your contact information, and then I will reach out to you personally, a live human being, and you and I can start a conversation where we get to the bottom of one simple question. How can we use this story to help the people you love do 3 vital things every day between today and that day? See Christ more clearly, choose their days more wisely, and act more boldly under the lordship of Christ, even in the face of distraction. And live every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
with that day.
That day.
That day.
That day.
With that day in mind. Go to thatday.info, and I look forward to talking with you on that day.